Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Tuesdays for the Poetry. And we are live tonight on the birthday of our most blessed and cursed country, the United States of America. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you aren't doing cake stands, blowing up a small piece of America, maybe even your own fingers or hands, or just waving the flag about as fast as you can until your arm just goes out of the socket because you are a true patriot. So I appreciate you tuning in. I'm actually going to be reading. I'm going to start off tonight with some poems that are not my own, and I don't know if I'm violating any kind of FCC rules here, doing it so. But if I am, then I will argue that I am doing so out of a very strong patriotism. But I would like to read two selections from two immensely American poets, Allen Ginsberg and John Ashbery, um, who are who were, excuse me, uh, very American and very queer. So this is the collection, The Faber Book of America, and as things stand right now, I will be teaching um, seventh graders social studies at my school where I work next year. And I am doing these incidental hours out of necessity for the district. And I am very much looking forward to reading and sharing many more selections from this wonderful collection edited by Christopher Ricks and William L. Vance. Christopher Ricks, of course, being an extremely eminent British scholar and critic, someone who has written at length on one of my favorite poets, Geoffrey Hill, whose influence you will continue to hear in tonight's readings of my poetry. So let's see what we have here. Let's read the Ginsberg first, and then we'll go into the Ashbery. So the poem I'll be reading by Allen Ginsberg is Who Runs America? Oil brown smog over Denver, oil red dung colored smoke, level to level across the horizon, blue tainted sky above oil car smog gasoline, hazing red Denver's day, December bare trees sticking up from housetop streets, plain lands rumbling, planes rise over radar wheels, black smoke drifts wobbly from tail fins. Oil, millions of cars speeding the cracked plains. Oil from Texas, Bahrain, Venezuela, Mexico. Oil that turns General Motors, revs up Ford, lights up General Electric. Oil that crackles through international business machine computers, charges dynamos for ITT, sparks Western Electric, runs through Amer telephone and telegraph wires, oil that flows through Exxon, New Jersey hoses, rings in mobile gas tank cranks, rumbles Chrysler engines, shoots through Texaco pipelines, blackens ocean from broken Gulf tankers, spills onto Santa Barbara beaches from Standard of California derricks offshore. That was written Brand Affair, Denver, Dallas, December 3rd, 1974, and was published in Allen Ginsberg's collection Mind Breaths. Wonderful title, Mind Breaths, in 1977. Just around that time period, we have a poem by John Ashbery, and I have to thank Richard Sandler, who lives across the street from me, a wonderful photographer and trumpeter. Trumpeter, not trumper. He exposed me to John Ashbery's amazing and eloquent lyric collection, Self Portrait in Mirror. I think there's another word in there, but I'm forgetting it. And convex mirror, self portrait in convex mirror. I think that might be it. But he exposed me to that work by John Ashbery, and this poem is an extremely famous and well anthologized poem of his called "The One Thing That Can Save America." So if we have an answer, perhaps to who runs America, which obviously Allen Ginsberg rightly identifies as the oil industry, John Ashbery gives us something that possibly can save our country. So let's see what he has to say. Is anything central? Orchards flung out on the land, urban forests, rustic plantations, knee-high hills? Are place names central? Elm Grove, Adcock Corner, Storybook Farm. As they concur with a rush at eye level, beating themselves into eyes which have had enough. Thank you. No more thank you. And they come on like scenery, mingled with darkness, the damp plains, overgrown shrubs, places of known civic pride, of civil obscurity. These are connected to my version of America, but the juice is elsewhere. This morning, as I walked out of your room after breakfast cross hatched with backward and forward glances, backward into light, forward into unfamiliar light, was it our doing, and was it the material, the lumber of life, or of lives we were measuring, counting? A mood soon to be forgotten in crossed girders of light, cool downtown shadow in this morning that has seized us again? I know that I braid too much my own, snapped off perceptions of things as they come to me. They are private and always will be. Where then are the private turns of events, destined to boom later like golden chimes released over a city from a highest tower? The quirky things that happen to me, and I tell you, and you instantly know what I mean? What remote orchard reached by winding roads hides them? Where are these roots? It is the lumps and trials that tell us whether we shall be known and whether our fate can be exemplary, like a star. All the rest is waiting for a letter that never arrives. Day after day, the exasperation until finally you have ripped it open, not knowing what it is. The two envelope halves lying on a plate. The message was wise and seemingly dictated a long time ago. Its truth is timeless, but its time has still not arrived, telling of danger and the mostly limited steps that can be taken against danger. Now and in the future, in cool yards, in quiet small houses in the country, our country, in fenced areas, in cool, shady streets. Self Portrait in a Convex was the collection that The One Thing That Can Save America was published in 1975 by John Ashbery. So I've given A hat tip to Allen Ginsberg and John Ashbery to start off the night. We're 10 minutes in. Nobody's here, but it's okay. We've got a wonderful twilight going on. You can actually see the glow here, the twilight. And we have poems, my friends, poems. Poems written in the year 2015, a stupendous year, a momentous year, with wonderful poems which I continued to produce for the manuscript Hugh Melody and Other Voices, as it was known at that time. Um, at the end of my composition of this manuscript, which um, was accumulated over a period of about 3 or 4 years, I started writing diamond body poems. So I started writing poems in the shape of a seed, really more so in the shape of well, I gave it away there. Diamonds, seeds, this kind of shape that is 2001: A Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick. If any of you have seen that, when we have our traveler into the black obelisk. Um, so I'm just going to start reading now. To me, myself, and I. Oh, let me turn off my phone so I don't have any interruption. Slide power off. It's off. Genealogy. If you guys don't know, I grew up Mormon, and from my birth until the age of 18 was involved in the church, and then I moved out of my house and I ended up in Portland, Oregon, where I was at school at the Pacific Northwest College of Art for 2 years, and I did not continue to go to church. It doesn't matter in that sense when considering my family history. Um, it still lives with me, and I'm continuing to look into it. I'm actually writing a short story right now that has to do with my family, my paternal side of my family. There is quite a habit or odd kind of recurrence, which the males seem to encounter or to um, reproduce, you could kind of say. And what that is that um, my biological father and also my father, Robert Burns, rest in peace. I hope to God he rests in peace, because his life was not peaceful. Um, both of them uh, married someone, had progeny, had children, and then moved on and married another. So my stepfather and my biological father both did that. However, also my biological father's father did the same thing. And my biological father's father also did the same thing. So my grandfather and my great grandfather as well, father, grandfather, great grandfather, all had this, again, habit or recurrence where they married someone, committed to a relationship, gave birth to children, and then those children were abandoned. Those children were forgotten. Those children um, no longer had anything to do with their life anymore. They were swept away. In the case of my biological father, he wasn't swept away literally, but metaphorically. He was part of the sort of the leftover of the previous marriage, and um, had a very difficult time. Um, so I I've done all this to introduce a poem. I promise that I'll pick up a good pace here with the rest of the poems. Um, but this poem genealogy also has references to Robert Burns, my father, but also the namesake of my father, Robert Burns, the Scottish poet, as well as Prince Bonnie Charlie, a Scottish poet, as well as Prince Bonnie Charlie, a Scottish person of royalty, and as well as we've got some William Blake appearing in here again too, because why not? He was such a big influence to me. So here we go. We got genealogy. Can against forgetting be for memory? Ask Bonnie Charlie, or the conspiracy theorist who plots for those he's against. No siree, Rabbi Burns holds not that sentiment rich and piled high upon the feast table of pop relevance. Chance had it that my father raised an inoculated boy. For a that, and a that, with aversion to the gambling ploy. Humbly beside scandal, far from poor faculties, he shores within his hierarchy no hunger insatiable. But knock on wood, for I signify the higher arch over structures as crystalline as radiolaria and as regal as the lion and the ox. Personal history kind of dull. I have a story or two in brief, leaving my inheritance of belief gave faith a conscious pull. From, well, descendant of textile mill, Hands of Lowell, grandson of night school attendant, son of the out of working class, red-headed stepchild of R.A.B. A toast then on Burns night, for God thanks and namesakes from the paper mill of Amazon to Ninth Side's cold cathedron. That's our first poem of the night, genealogy. Okay, next we have Earthmite, and this is a poem very close to my heart because it is an elegy for a fallen pilot that would have been an astronaut, Michael Tyner Alsbury, who was born in 1975. He was 10 years my senior and died in 2014. And he died test piloting a vehicle which Richard Branson, who owns Virgin Galactic, a space tourism company, um, he was testing their vehicle, one of their vehicles, and there was an issue with the well, the construction of the vehicle. So we just had um, this these 5 deaths from the Ocean Gate submersible, and gosh, there's really a poem there with 5 people meeting their death in the depths of the ocean, and a person meeting their death uh, heading up to the stars. It seems that as high as we go and as deep as we go, we seem to all meet death either way. Um, so this is again, it's a poem in memoriam. It's an elegy for Michael Tyner Alsbury titled Earthmite. Saw Wayne's gravity collecting in the curves of a gourd lantern. Some sweet discs, some tart cubes felt at the wrist as night pulls close on parted souls to have again some earthly residence. Galactic, a scale of untenable distance from light year to light year, and yet we measure ourselves up against such alarming resonance. Harmony when we sing of brothers who die beneath a crosshair by time's trigger that we cannot shield. Dissonance as the star fallen mar the scrub of coyote country as a feather torn shuttlecock rains on boastful summer folly. But autumn is the first season. It was when we fled Eden, or whatever you use to say the induction of a reason hollowed this ground with clay. Let us die among the skies, you proclaim. Well, may we offer up this payment to keep the flame. So I mentioned heights and depths. Well, another deepness that we go into, not just the bottom of the ocean, is caves. And my grandfather was a spelunker. And so this poem's called Spelunker, and it's also in remembrance of him. If we slept as the winged mice, pooling head blood and dropping lice, and upside down chiroptera in the mines nocturama, would our dreams be right side up and day spawn a second life? Shock, haptic kick like a stinging jellyfish. Ouch! Nightmares run out from some dwelling I kept them safe and secure from disturbing joys that cuddled my debasement. Ah, my cave days that Camus surveyed on the Sisyphean mountain. How was it I gained access? Took a page from that Nobel. A winning chemical mixture was made of the Gnostic and the secular. Unstable, had to duck down, sucker below the waking and suffer the dead. Rather friendly, pretensions none. Sold me on life's hardship, on cherry trees and clouds, the very Oregon, old Charon Reason's two fairy back aground. Arose from a restful night, enrolled in a new school, a parentage orphan delight centered in the human, not as the individual or this diorama's egg shell. Next, we get a short one, quite a short one, um, maybe even a haiku. At least in pencil, defacer of borrowed book, I can erase you. More elegies to come. I've got another. I've got another elegy here. This one for Arthur C. Clarke, Sir Arthur C. Clarke. Um, got to get a little British in while we're doing this live stream on the 4th of July. Um, he was born in 1946, died in 2008, and I wrote this poem in remembrance of him called "Beaten Rock." It is a fictionalization fictionalization of the colonization of Mars, which I do not believe in any way will happen anytime soon. Unfortunately, we didn't do well. We failed. One thing I think I can serve my poetry with is that we live in a time and an era in which we failed. We have failed. We failed as human beings. All the promise that we felt in the 20th century is just absolute fodder for the putrid present that we live in. It's just we failed. So so here's a poem that imagines uh, a colony on Mars, a colony on Mars in failure. It's called Beaten Rock, not a beacon, but a beaten rock, something that has been beaten. One, transmission and reply. Counter two, as the crow flies. B gun club blasted off with a couple hundred tons of gin, a piercing of the thickened gloam above the crib millennium. They launch the best friend, we, the cousin, closest kin, to beta test the Lebensraum, pass a Prussian torch of upright cool in the face of total annihilation. Repeat that over? Goddard rolls under the dirt Nell kicked off of, but she just didn't get far enough. Later, the Times retract a scoff, cite the rise beyond the merit, redact the book of how we got there. Yesterday's news, a glitch of the future. Pardon, I meant glimpse, but already hit enter on astrology's keyboard where typing is fate's work. 2. Copy that. Clark, Roddenberry outmaneuvered the eschatology, yoked their oxen to a futurism, pioneered through despair, built our first homestead therein. Coming transmission. It's been a hard time at Beacon. Most of the colony call it beaten. We lost the tug of your gentle chain, linked to greens, blues, hell, a whole rainbow. What a reply that was, and what a dread if you have no bird to send. Look, settlers of the sky, Orion's a visage of Gracchus. Do we take aim, let another shot fly? Knock loose the guidance, favoring pride over temperance, to throttle the lion's cry. Verne's hand cart of invention tipped over on its side, a mysterious profusion, or the prophet made story returning, the gravity broken, the wheat germ, and dried worms. Isn't it amazing? Worms and ants, these things, these creatures, they make everything. They're just they're just wonderful. Um, there's a lot I could unpack there with Beaten Rock. I mean, we have the fact that Goddard, who was the father of rocketry in the United States and literally inspired the German rocket scientists who designed the V2, who then came to the United States through Operation Paperclip. There's a lot to unpack there, but the fact that Goddard, who is dramatized in a kind of a loose biopic starring Jake Gyllenhaal called The October Sky. Massachusetts guy. He was derided by the media, and they kind of laughed at the kind of theories that he was putting forward, that rockets could eventually be designed to have enough lift in order to um, uh, break gravity's hold and enter into the outer atmosphere and eventually into space. Um, Completely laughed at. And the Times, the New York Times, They retracted their scoff, as I say in the poem. Once uh, the space race really took off. So there's a tension between this idea that we need to lift, we need to reach out for the unknown, and we need to center ourselves further into the earth. Um, just because someone laughs at us for wanting to reach for the stars doesn't mean that they're entirely wrong. Maybe what we bring up to the stars might not be that great. So, speaking of Nazi rocket scientists, so okay, so I have two poems here, and I have a shift. So I'm gonna have to let you guys know when there's a diamond body poem shift, because what I have here is two poems which are the beginning of a manuscript that I have of a chapbook called Diamond Body Poems, and these are the first two Diamond Body poems. They're very different in form from what you guys have been hearing, and you'll hear the difference when I sort of go back to a poem that is included in Humelody, and then a poem that is specific to this other manuscript that I developed for a chapbook called Diamond Body's Poem. Diamond Body Poems, which is yet to be published. I do not have it published anywhere. I've been thinking of self-publishing it, but we'll see. So here we go. They don't have titles. Sitting, my eyes skinned, red tinged around the lids, open, singing in the choral dawn, a tenor along the top wire. Here we celebrate, the birds and I, the first torch bearing treetop, riven, leafless, wind chapped, kindling caught aflame with common cosmic light to bring forth the great fire out of the wintry night. Next Diamond Body poem. Renewed losses, foisted up through the soil, engendered once again from the bulb to stamen, fecund grosses, these guileless tulips, for honeyed feelers, high sun and the babe's admiration, then plucked tearful drooping over the crystal's lip, stale scant kisses, sung lightly to before dying again. So those are the first two Diamond Body poems, and now we're back to a um, Hugh Melody manuscript poem. This one's called Palm Faced. Looking up from Looking up from over the top of the screen, a coffee cup might give one Kierkegaard's hunch, or cripple compassion with lust. Staring, rather genuflect, settle, shaky your divided attention on either or. Low difficulty, not a setting. One knees grounded, abetting some chivalrous act. Didn't mean to suggest a wedding, only engagement. Presence in this age or by another as Albigensian crusader slash Knights Templar. You pray ignorance. Romanticize the luck of nature in the stranger's face shrunk to the size of a palm. Spread out the liner notes, repeat the mouthy quote to memorize, then ignore. Tip it up, sip it slowly, very hot, or a cold fictional draught from the cauldron of self righteous thought. Hand over fist, you sheathe your shit talk, bust your own table, stamp out the cafe of other people. All right, and if you guys have been joining the nights of Tuesdays for the poetry, you would know from the last night, which was re-recorded, by the way, during the daytime, which was a little odd for me. But we re-recorded, and I had the second part of the film based on the best-selling book. So this is now the final, the third part of the sequence poem, the film based on the best-selling book, and it's called Joycean Novice. Joycean Novice, as in James Joyce. James Joyce has kind of found his way into my work, which is odd because I've literally only read Dubliners and A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, and Ulysses and Finnegan's Wake yet to be something that I have read. Have you read it, Gary Lime? Ulysses? Finnegan's Wake? Let me know in the chat. But here's Joycean Novice. Mealy mouthpiece at the mercy of a patronizing publica, getting real cultural with patient nostalgia. For Christ's sake? Nah. Double agent tapping the secular line of man sapped and novel blasphemies. To ice the helium? Now that would be an achievement. Improving upon the Great Pyramid like posts by a Civil War veteran? Can you imagine? No, 'cause like my father concluded, this all peaked with frozen pizza. From a kit of pigeons, we'll divide the matter clearly. Authorship is a will-o'-wisp. If turning back shyly one prides in antiquity, what's lain before the island of Penelope, where slaughter consecrated memory. Oh, that's great. John Huston did a version of The Dead. What was the title? Was it called The Dead, or was it a different title? John Huston, that's great. Um, what did I see of his recently? I'm trying to remember. I did go back and take a look. Um, it was on Criterion Channel. So, oh, it was titled The Dead. Okay, great. I'll look for it. Maybe Criterion Channel will have it. Is Criterion Collection having their annual sale this month? I think Gillian might have mentioned that they are. If they are, I gotta pick up a few things. You know what she gifted me for my birthday back in April? Eight and a half. One of my favorite movies. Fellini, just amazing. And I think eight and a half. I feel like I knew that movie before I even saw it, and then I saw it. It hit me so much. But that was because Terry Gilliam, um, just his movies. I grew up with like Time Bandits and 12 Monkeys, and there was so, and my dad loved Monty Python, so Terry Gilliam was like always there. They're having their sale. It's my second favorite holiday of the year. That's great, Gary. That's great. I know it is. I know it is, buddy. So yeah, I'll have to check that out to get some good stuff, because not everything is available on Criterion Channel, which we have a subscription to. There are some stuff you got to get, the DVDs or the Blu-rays too. So okay, so we got two more poems from the Diamond Body Poems manuscript. Here we go. The stones of Hadrian's wall are as much the mortar between one world and another as the fluid Bosporus is both refuge and passage through ways that once halted us. The sun is not the augur of my day, but the scald of God's joy, and surging south it descends with the earthly to rest, unbent, tucked sound into my sleeping breast pocket. Two more from Diamond Body. Pools of water from snow, packed a few inches deep with garbage, gravel, and dung, glacial instant, come undone by spring's salt. And there I see what clung with cold, a short shrift hold upon our discomfort, as hurried plashing underfoot evinces all transitoriness. The heat waves turn light into water, shimmers like sand, being no mirage but the air among us, scintillating, judicious, a mix of desert color and wild flowers. The rays of sun gush across and over us. No wind but breath, shushed quick by the land. And another short one here. We have a haiku. Handsome waves shower over the deck of the ship. Were baptized with tears. Oh, I'm done with my water. I have to get some more before we're done. Okay, so next we have something back in the regular manuscript. Oh, and Gary Lime, you got to let me know if you've got anything that you know you're going to order, you're going to add. I've seen postings of your bookshelves, but I haven't seen postings of your DVD collection. I don't think. Maybe I did. I'm not sure, but let me know. Let me know what you're getting from the Criterion Collection sale. And if you don't know, check it out. Films definitely have a huge influence on my poetry. Films are monuments as well. So next we have a poem called "The Carving Out of Monuments." In dutiful sympathy with the simplicity sick of cryonics, to die, to be born again, and awaken astride your future, to rectify in reconstitution the wish to be handled, to possibly be of use to some young human. Death, like snowfalls, pack the mass graves, glacier slow. The carving out of monuments. Body politics matters little if life contributes, matters more when halting friction is sure to turn over your ice chest of civilization. Hmm. Just a popsicle, bereft of taste or color. Progressive grandfather wished himself grander, baseball capped, and beside the kids container. A perfect a perfect game, such a rarity. I sympathize completely. That poem is for the baseball fans out there. The kid is a reference to Ted Williams, if you know who he was. Okay, two more poems from the Diamond Body manuscript. Crisis of no blood flow, of little by little, the painful interruption of comfortable surroundings. Your hip marrow, one of my testicles, slow deaths we duly returned from intact, but were left with briefly feeling somehow apart from the rest of our bodies, being handed a food tray, anesthesia worn off. That one's for my brother Grant. Next one is another Diamond Body poem. While I was observing some squirrels in Union Square. Young gray squirrels, flecks of red orange, just fresh from their milking, rolling, jumping off, rambunctious brothers, twinned paired, digging for their kernels, as miserable as the pigeons, as brash as the starlings, loud and pleasantly without the red, wise scampering of the robin. I just saw that I didn't dot an I in my book here. Uh, boom, dotted the I. When I write with Coeco Sport. There, that way I can maybe work up to a Queco Sport sponsorship. That would be great. Okay, next poem is a poem for the local UAW of Strand bookstore. Yeah, here we go. I actually wrote out or printed up this poem. I posted it in the break room at Strand Books down in the city. So maybe it's still there. I don't know. Maybe they tore it off and threw it away long ago. But here it is. It's called Kingdom slash Union. Kingdom Union. And this is fitting for 4th of July, mind you. Death to royal lethargy. Why do we pay homage? Making excuses up to be some form of higher knowledge. Can't make it out, so catch you another time? Wax a feeble politic, pout, so I mouth off in rhyme. Thought we made K. George a scion of the past. Seems a kingly body forges another to outlast. To commingle with the heart in its cloistered lies, make of freedom time charts to kill or deutilize. Americana, wasted space, hole in the poetry table, the marble faun, a case by case anabasis, unwilling or unable act. Sorry, sought to make this clear, no allusion, no reference, just a question we might steer out of the way of our indifference. So let us dethrone, let go of, rather than hold across this thought alone, notion above. What goes wide in height is loss. But there is a union our voices may sustain. First, eulogize confusion, then revive the refrain. There is a union, no prisoners, no strays, no kingdom to contain. There is a union added unto every 90 days. I can say also that that poem goes out to the UPS workers who are preparing to strike any day now. Solidarity. Some short poems now, some included in the Diamond Body collection, some not. Falling back asleep after waking by dawn's light, dark dreams of return. That should be after waking in dawn's light, maybe not by. Let's see. Sometimes quick edits appear. You have to admire the stapled wings of foolish aviators as much as the quilled designs of Leonardo, both inspired by the graces of birds as much as or more than the mechanics of flight. Starting to hear fireworks go off. I don't know if you guys have some fireworks going off in your neighborhood right now as well, but they're out there. Okay, next poem I wrote on my birthday when I turned 30 on April 30th, 2015, which, if you guys don't know, that was my golden birthday. Your golden birthday is the day of the month that you were born, the date. Sorry, the date of the month you were born, and the age that you turned that age. So write in the live chat uh, when your golden birthday was. So again, your golden birthday is the month you were born and the day of the month you were born. Um, so for me, I was born April 30th. So when I turned 30, that was my golden birthday. So my 30s started strong with a golden birthday. Some people have like their golden birthday was like the first or the second or the third. Probably can't remember that, but that's okay. You know, childhood is completely golden up to a certain point. So here we go with a diamond body poem on my birthday. Now, the first buds and foremost blossoms of spring are weaving a loose rug of tiny shadows that recovers with a high sun. By summer, this hillside forest's underbrush will be cooled to the color and comfort of woven shade for all, those who are bade welcome. I just remembered. I just remembered. Oh, Gary Lime. Golden birthday was the first. There you go. So when you were 1 years old, shining so bright. I just remembered that on my birthday, April 30th, 2015, Gillian and I, my partner, we went to um, Storm King. We went to Storm King um, in upstate New York. It was one of the first upstate New York visits that we had before we moved up here. We were still living in the city. Next poem was published in a zine which just had one issue up here upstate called Aesopus Freak, and it goes like this: rootless fruit cannot flourish. The bumblebee brushes not the open, colorful enclosure. The towering pride crumbles into grit. His buzzing is but an absence, and a dark wind falls upon it. Hives have tumbled, gardens of Cyrus withered, earth is washed over, the seed suffers all disaster, yet to root. Another diamond body poem. Illuminated first by candlelight, a lampshade like glow stretched across vellum. Quick dip and slow, methodical application of woad blue and other herbal colors to last until the day of judgment. Now the frozen presents, bulbs, the burial shrouds off white ensures the image end word. Make it to the undecipherable inscription around the end. That poem was inspired by visits to one of Gillian and guys' favorite places to visit in New York City, which of course is the cloisters, um, in on the north tip of Manhattan, owned and operated by the Met. It is their medieval collection, and it's just I don't know, it's something else. We just whenever we went there, it was just magical, magical. They even have a Renaissance fair there some years. Um, you been to the cloisters, Gary Lime? I hope you have. Hope you have. It's a wonderful place. So a few more left we have here for 2015. Some diamond body poems, and some that went into the collection. This is in the Hugh Melody collection. It's called The Spectacle. It's about going to the movies. The lights go up, and a staggered, false started show of hand claps sound for no one. The seats close as rising people upend their lethargy and take to groaning, sighing, off the cuff, criticizing of the spectacle. In a twilight instant, each silhouette against a flat roll of credits lurch past wasted rows of corn and kernels strewn about their half dead, shuffling out. Malaise of the departing. I overhear those overturned and buoyant nursing a nap, fishing their reflection on the netted shorelines, lapping softly at distraction. For us, back row, the dozen or so of 200 brief citizens make a noble lie of audience as the names rising from nadir delete at zenith, waiting this birth of silence, democratic, for so many syllables. Next one is called "Drinking with Gerard," which it's an imagined narrative of a um, well, drinking with Gerard Manley Hopkins, an incredible English poet whose sense of sound and voice I think is pretty much unmatched uh, for his time. So this is Drinking with Gerard. Ugh. Oh, we're almost at an hour. We're almost through though. 2015 kind of peters out. Drinking with Gerard. By faith, a clergyman ferments under a seal of his devotion to shape from chance and law a crux. Well, as a barren womb met virility, curled emptiness up into kinetic energy and begot something more than some. Whose brick babbled this labyrinth? Belief by myth is eaten at the center after many, many, many a corner, some hours. Well, you could say evil's there, as the better settlements build room for the devil, but also for God and like. I have every book written on this topic we're discussing and haven't room to fit imagination, but shucks will lager me. We ought to drink to the illusion, soothe the veins of our hands, make thought material seen through, guttural, gullible, sanctified laughter, as at one another or each other's investments thrown asunder and sipped aloft. Diamond Buddy poem. Time is just a metaphor, said the homeless man as he strummed the muffled chord from a bench in the square, Washington Square. And he'll make some money from the padded bellies of some passing soul pity there. Take it up for his song of truth and woe to ease the bones and flesh with forgetting temporarily time isn't hinge to space. Next we have Mistaken poem. I made a list. You're on my list. We stood in awe. He made a list. Write it down. Gun smokes on. Roll the tape. Record lifelong. Chat in bathrooms and the showers. Read nothing light after hours. Serve the dishes. He replenishes. 1,000 people fleece their wishes. 1,000 others drink in solace of the Jordan River chalice. I find my past stays true and fast. Each story told, I tell to last. Each clear thought fixes my sight on the journey cast in light. Whether truth or whether lie, no objectivity, neither I. He made a list, and you're on his list. We walked naive, youth was mist, trying the masks in foggy mirrors, playing the hero, producing terrors. Two Diamond Bodies poems next. With your skill at nimble threadwork, a cautionary look of care, on the cloth you move fingers, earnest in their arching, over and upon and through with needle laced colors, making a portrait in the woof. My embroidered face, as yours has drawn carefully through the cloth of my once renounced life. Sex is another manner, and one of the first order. Warm dust yoked to yearn for young star bursts open, swirls, motioning between the fluid and the sustaining. Love, is it what comes after the bang? If we affirm all that is was there to begin with, all the known forces, gravity, matter, light, then this law was three, two. Okay, next we have another humility poem. This one it's a good one. It's called Knowledge Mills. Not rumor mills, but knowledge mills. Knowledge mills. More than can be counted the stacks of tarot guides in an otherwise bare bedroom, but the cards, I cannot find them. Knowledge mills press rather than uplift the proverbs. Spirited, we can, we should, run out by the blessed search engine. Give one a minute longer. Incense covers the afternoon. Trial has recess, forgets to resume. The judge breathes slow, weighs in. These stacks sour with dreams, tickling the back of the throat, swallowing the river and my boat, prophecies foretold, peeled bark and ankle bones. But the cards I shallow wade, and am lost in hollow reeds. Short poem now. Leaf sky, pale fruiting of strawberry, goes beetle guys red. Okay, and lastly, we have our final sonnet in the 14 years, 14 sonnets collection, which I will be auctioning off next time on Tuesdays for the Poetry. So please tune in for that. We'll have a live auction in the live chat. Wouldn't that be crazy? We're gonna do it. So here's sonnet 14. When knighthood was in flower, a little dog ran to the lover, beseeching the lone red rover as a fox sent to its seeker. Whenever a strand of your hair is found among my belongings, no disgust, in fact, great longing to recompose it over your ear. When the tiger has no forest, a hunger claims the holy beast. So I raise right up to the least my foliage above this feral nest, this secret canopy where you and I meet as a lover kneeling upon his hunter's feet. Oh, and now we have the fourth and final section to the film based on the best selling book for the making of all whoredoms have fallen to the women's liberation. They make coffee with the ash of Babylon's burnt prisons. Their men make war against themselves, dividing gentle strain from stubborn passion's gory shows and inspiring body of work. The long lie of technology make eyelids soon close over, everyone a dreamer in the peace of no eulogy delivered. Here the genders remade, molten again, bubbling spring of change, pole swung around with every hope in four projections. Let us not refuse the broadening of the global leaf. This morning's fly, ooh, this morning flies their vines up a broken trellis of a tree. Three more poems left. Here we go. Two from Diamond Body, one from Humility. Art, the invisible, force compels the doubled power, swing back, shakes the crackling shoal to sing of debris. Every god, every chisel, what shipwreck on what isle, cracked hull of culture open more like a wound in a beached whale. Werkmeister style, no art. Werkmeister harmonies? Gonna put that in the chat. If you haven't seen it, it's a film. Check it out. Next one, next to last. Wakes up with the head pounding, common alarum and pale light jabbing through the Venetian blinds. The mouse seat beneath the pine tree still decorating a room with Christmas. Second week of January, beneath the pine tree still decorating a room with Christmas. Second week of January, no presents anymore, but the shock of self awareness and a fear of cancer. Field of regard. Sublet the meditation space to charlatan upstarts, snaking by funnel the time it takes to columbine their field of regard. Halt on the outskirts, hedging against the derelict shacks of former counselors who mellowed dreams of rescue, a vision of future, supposed to work it like a pump, primed with the blood of ideals, more of a surgical fudge, accident, the ultimate cause. A little sour wine, a small bitter growth of incremental mold, but penicillin or mildew, unknown. This reaching, spread fingered, to clench the toehold, to husk corn and mine the season with those green horns grasping a ram. Ah, so that's the end of 2015. That's the end of our night. Tomorrow, not tomorrow, next Tuesday, we'll start the title poem of my collection, my unpublished manuscript, Hugh Melody and Other Voices, called Hugh Melody. It's a 7-part sequence poem. It's a really wonderful poem, I think. I think it's some of the best work I've done. So I'm very happy to share this with you all. Thanks so much for tuning in this evening to Tuesdays for the Poetry. And remember, you live in a country at a total and absolute impasse. We're going to be celebrating our 250th anniversary in the year 2026. Can you imagine what it might be like in the year 2026? I can barely imagine tomorrow or the end of this year. What fresh hell awaits us, or what absolute redeeming heaven will we create together? That's my deepest hope. So thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Tuesdays for the Poetry with your poet, Gary Dale Burns. Enjoy the rest of your 4th of July, however you choose to celebrate it. Independence Day from the Brits. See you next time, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.